Welcome back, adventurers. There are three things you absolutely need to know before you plan your trip to Sequoia: which trails are worth your energy, how to dodge peak hour crowds, and which permits or fees will sneak up on you if you're not ready. In this video, I'll lay out the top trails with the distances and difficulties, sharing timing tricks to avoid crowds, and cover the most booked items like Crystal Cave tickets, campground or lodge reservations, and the unavoidable entrance fees. If you want the quick checklist I use on every Sequoia trip, hit the like button and stick around. Before we dive in, I'm not sponsored by any brands mentioned in the making of this video. The content used in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. All rights to the images, music, clips, and other materials used belong to their respective owners. I do not claim ownership over any third-party content used. As always, if you found we really brought you the value today, please consider supporting us with a like and subscribe. We post links in the description below for all the products mentioned and post the very latest on all things hiking and adventuring as we show you where the wild things are. And with that, let's head straight into the park's most famous giants and see where the journey really begins. Starting off, a giant's welcome, meeting General Sherman. Imagine walking a short paved path and ending up face to bark with a tree that makes skyscrapers look almost modest. That's the experience of General Sherman Tree Trail, the park's signature stop and the moment where Sequoia truly lives up to its name. You set out expecting just another forest stroll, then you're standing before a living being that predates ancient empires. At 275 feet tall, with a trunk wider than most living rooms and an estimated age of over 2,000 years, the General Sherman tree holds the title of the largest tree on Earth by volume. Standing at its base is a reminder that even the tallest buildings in our cities are temporary, while this giant has endured countless generations. The trail to see Sherman is short and straightforward, about 1 mile loop, but here's the important detail. The paved path drops nearly 200 feet down from the parking area to the tree. That means the way back is all uphill. And at an elevation of about 7,000 feet, even fit hikers often feel the thinner air on the return climb. Take water, pace yourself, and remember, this easy hike can feel more demanding than it looks. The trail surface is fully paved, making it accessible for strollers and wheelchairs. There are benches along the way for breaks and amenities close by as well, with restrooms and water refill stations available near the main trailhead. The logistics matter here because this is the most visited spot in the entire park. In summer, parking fills quickly, often before mid-morning. If you want to avoid circling endlessly, either arrive early or make use of the free seasonal shuttle service that drops off near the trail entrance. If you visit falls in peak summer hours, the shuttle is often only stress-free option. Your visit also comes with the usual national park requirements. As of now, entrance fees are $35 per vehicle or $20 if you enter by foot or bike, valid for 7 days. And it's easy to forget because there's no gas stations inside Sequoia National Park itself, so fuel up beforehand in nearby towns like Three Rivers. Wildlife is very much present in this forest. Store all your food in metal bear-proof boxes. Rangers are serious about these rules, and so are the bears who wander looking for careless mistakes. A packed cooler left in your car isn't just a danger to the animal, it's a guaranteed ticket for the driver. So what does it feel like when you actually reach Sherman? The paved path leads you into a grove where the tree is presented almost like a natural monument surrounded by its fellow sequoias. Many of the nearby are massive by their own normal standards, and yet they look almost overshadowed by Sherman's sheer bulk. The reddish bark and towering trunk disappear into canopy heights that force you to crane your neck back so far that you'll likely lose balance if you're not careful. Photos are tempting, and yes, this is a must-snap moment, but you'll value standing still for a second even more. The sense of the scale doesn't really hit until you let your eyes follow upward and imagine the centuries of this giant has weathered. The best window to visit stretches from late May through September. That's when all the roads remain clear of snow, the shuttle is operating, and Crystal Cave tours and visitor services across the park are in full swing. In the heart of winter, these trails can be icy, and road closures can cut off access altogether. For the first-time visit, summer brings the least frustration and the most options. If you're unsure about navigation, pick up a free park map at the entrance station or the Giant Forest Museum. It shows all the shuttle stops, trails, and essential facilities. Think of this visit as your introduction to the forest at the grandest scale. Once you've seen Sherman, it's tempting to stop there, as most crowds actually do. But the truth is that the experience gets even richer when you follow the paths leading away from the celebrity tree. Just beyond the loop begins the trail where Sherman's neighbors wait. with names and stories that reach as high as the branches themselves. The first steps into the forest, the Congress Trail. Right after Sherman, your best move is to step out into the Congress Trail. This is where the casual sightseeing shifts into something more immersive. The loop stretches a manageable 2.5 miles to 3 miles, taking most of the people about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how often you stop. Its paved sections with gentle ups and downs make it accessible without being bored. Think of being on a walking gallery where your exhibits are alive and towering over you. The Congress Trail is where the scale stops feeling abstract and starts feeling personal. Perfect for capturing photos without the crush of the Sherman Viewpoint crowds. Many visitors never set foot on this loop, which keeps it far quieter than the popularity might suggest. If you start right at Sherman in the morning, you'll usually get better light streaming through the trees and plenty of open space to enjoy without interruption. Along the loop, you'll come across named groves like the House and the Senate. The House Grove is airy and sunlit, while the Senate feels denser with red bark catching the light in the striking contrast. Their formation in tight clusters makes the Congress theme feel really fitting, as the trees have gathered for a debate. Moving deeper, you'll meet giants with presidential titles, the McKinley tree and the President tree. The president especially stands out. It's the third largest tree on the planet and estimated to be over 3,000 years old. Each of these stops to tell the part of the park's history, where every conservationist chose names to emphasize dignity and permanence at the time where the logging threatened places like this. In hiking terms, this trail sits on the easy to moderate line. Families can handle it just fine, and kids who are up for a long walk will manage without trouble. Older visitors will appreciate the benches scattered along the route, but carrying water is smart no matter your age. The uphill sections here are mild when compared to the climb back from Sherman, spread out so that they feel more steady and walking more than a workout. If you hiked Sherman already, this loop feels like a comfortable extension instead of a new challenge. Congress Trail gives you something Sherman alone can't: space. You can actually step back far enough to frame these trees properly without 20 people vying for the same angle. The open groves along the Senate and House are excellent spots for panoramas, and the President tree especially rewards wide shots that show its massive girth. Bring a camera or at least clear some space on your phone. You'll want more than a few pictures of this trail. Comfort and safety matter too. Even when the loop is paved and straightforward, conditions differ by season. In summer, mosquitoes are common in the shaded groves, so a quick spray of repellent will save you from the constant swatting and help you enjoy the nature just a little bit more. In winter, patches of ice can make the path slick, so good footwear is essential. Accessibility is better than many trails in the park, but the same rules apply. Know your limits and plan for the conditions. What makes Congress Trail especially worth your time is how it changes your mindset. Sherman is a single destination, the loop is an unfolding experience. Walking among groves named after leaders beside trees that have outlasted entire civilization, you realize that the honorific names are just recent labels. The trees themselves carry their own authority through their sheer size and age. That contrast, modern history versus natural history, puts your own sense of time and scale in perspective. So, if you want your Sequoia trip to be more than a snapshot moment, this trail is where you begin to feel truly part of the forest. An hour or two here trades noisy crowds for quiet company with some of the biggest living things on Earth. And once the calm has settled in, it's time to shift gears because the next challenge in Sequoia doesn't just ask you to look up, it's asking you to climb. Welcome, climbing Morro Rock. How do you reach the most commanding viewpoint in Sequoia? Well, by climbing Morro Rock, a granite dome that rises close to 6,700 to 6,800 feet in elevation. The trail is short but intense. 350 steps carved directly into stone, climbing about 300 feet in just a quarter mile each way. The result is more than exercise, it's an earned view that feels both challenging and unforgettable. On paper, the half-mile round trip sounds almost laughably easy, but the incline is steep, and each stretch of the narrow stairs hits your legs fast. Most people spend 30 to 45 minutes tackling the climb, stopping at small landings that double as natural lookout points. You'll welcome those pauses both for a break, for some breath, and for a chance to turn around and see the mountains unfolding further beneath you with every step. By the time you reach the upper railings, you'll understand why this short ordeal has become one of the defining hikes of the park. Getting to the trailhead is its own small hurdle. Morro Rock has a very limited parking lot, and during summer, it fills almost immediately. The smarter approach is to use the free in park shuttle that we talked about before that runs between the Giant Forest Museum and the trailhead late May through September. The ride only takes about 10 minutes, spares you from circling endlessly, and on peak weekends, the road may be even closed to private vehicles altogether. If you're visiting outside of the shuttle season, plan to arrive before mid morning if you want a chance at a spot. Safety is part of the experience here. The stairs are not dangerous if you stay aware, but they are narrow in places with sheer drops on either side. Those sections without railings will test anyone uneasy with heights. The trail closes in winter because the ice and snow make the granite steps very treacherous, so always check current conditions if you're traveling in cooler months. Even in summer, bring water and steady footwear. This is not a trail to rush. The views open gradually as you climb, building anticipation. To your left runs the deep Kauai River Gorge, and to your right, the General's Highway winds blow, and straight ahead, the serrated ridge of the Great Western Divide frame the horizon. On the clearest days, the layers of the Sierra Nevada peaks stack in every direction, stretching farther than your eyes can comfortably take in. Pictures never quite capture the real effect, which is why standing there in person is considered the payoff for the effort. Timing your climb shapes the experience, and in the middle of the day, expect bright, even light, but also more visitors on the stairs. Early morning and sunset are far quieter. At sunset, the granite dome glows warm and orange, and the shadows create dramatic contrasts across the valleys. If you go late, remember two logistics. The shuttle stops running in the evening, and the lights fade fast in the forest. If you choose to linger, bring a small flashlight or headlamp so you aren't fumbling on the granite steps on your way down. That simple precaution can turn what would be a stressful descent into a calm walk back. Morro Rock Stairway itself is part of the story. Built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in 1930s, the entire route was carved directly into the rock by hand. Knowing the structure still carries visitors safely more than 80 years later adds weight to every step. You're not only climbing for the view, you're using the exact same path that generations before you have conquered. By the time you step onto the summit platform, the sense is less about the distance you covered and more about the perspective you earned. Standing at the narrow granite dome above the deep valleys and endless ridges, you feel briefly connected to the scale of the Sierra in a way that no photo op can deliver. It transforms the park from trees to terrain, from individual giants to entire mountain ranges. And once you've stood on the summit, the natural question becomes what else waits within these linked parks? Because beyond Sequoia's heights lies a grove where the history and national memory shape another giant, one recognized not just for its size, but for what it symbolizes. Moving beyond the giants, Kings Canyon and the nation's Christmas tree. Just a short drive north brings you into Kings Canyon National Park, where the pace eases and the focus shifts to one of the most meaningful sites in the Sierra. In the heart of the Grant Grove stands the General Grant tree, widely known for the nation's Christmas tree and often cited as the second largest tree in the world by volume. If Sequoia feels like a shadow of the stars, Kings Canyon offers a quieter counterpart, still monumental, but with the space to reflect. What sets this stop apart is how easy it is to experience. The General Grant Tree Trail is a half-mile paved loop, flat and accessible to almost anybody. You can walk it in about 30 minutes or slow down and take an hour if you like the silence to sink in. Families with kids in strollers, older visitors, or anybody ready for the gentler day will appreciate that this loop doesn't demand the effort of the stair climbs or uphill treks. It strikes the balance between accessibility and grandeur, offering the chance to stand beneath one of the Earth's great giants without breaking the stride. The trail begins right at the main Grant Grove parking lot, next to the visitor center and the village. Unlike Sherman's hectic lot in Sequoia, parking here tends to be less stressful, especially if you arrive early in the summer weekend. The visitor center gives you useful introductions with the exhibits about Sequoia groves, the canyon environment, and the broader higher Sierra. For first-time visitors, it's worth stopping to pick up content before you head outside, since it enriches what you'll see on the loop. Once on the path, General Grant dominates the experience, towering about 270 feet high with a trunk circumference of about 100 feet. It is impossible to stand at the base without looking twice. Nearby signs explain its unique cultural roles. In 1926, President Calvin Coolidge proclaimed that it's the nation's Christmas tree, solidifying its place in our national traditions. 2 decades later, it received an additional designation, a living shrine to the men and women of the armed services. Knowing that history changes how the grove feels. You're not just observing a tree, you're standing in a natural cathedral where thousands of visitors have come to honor the memory and sacrifice. The loop also highlights a few other features worth your time. The fallen monarch, a enormous down trunk hollowed from within, is open for visitors to step inside. Families often linger here as kids marvel at walking through the room carved by nature alone. The adjacent gambling cabin, a small 1800s log home, still stands as a trace of early life in the rugged part of California. These stops together create a layered stroll. Ancient giants and preserved history are the symbols tied to national identity. What's different here compared to earlier stops is the tone. Instead of adrenaline or tight crowds, Grant Grove offers quiet. The loop rarely feels rushed, and you can take photographs with far fewer people in your frame than at Sherman. Morning and evening give the best soft light on the bark, but even midday shots capture an impressive sense of scale. Because you aren't battling for space, you can actually step back, look at the angles, and see what brings out the size of these trees rather than just squeezing in a snapshot. If you're considering extending the visit, there are a couple nearby options. Just to the east is Hume Lake, which offers a peaceful spot for lunch, reflection, or a few photos of the water for an easy way to add variety to the day, otherwise filled with towering trunks. Amenities at Grant Grove Village also make the section of the park comfortable to plan around, with lodging, a market, and casual dining if you'd rather pause here for a drive back towards Sequoia. And if you happen to be building your trip around one of the park's cavern tours, keep in mind that tickets must be booked ahead and schedules can be limited. Strolling the General Grant Tree Trail doesn't demand much physically, but that's what its strength is. After hikes and climbs, this experience balances the trip by allowing you to connect inwardly with the park's history and significance. The Grove reminds you that the Sequoia and Kings Canyon aren't only about size or novelty, they're also about perspective. By the time you leave, the image of the massive tree carrying dual roles as both seasonal symbol and national shrine stays with you long after the walk ends. And while this day carries a quieter energy, your journey isn't finished yet. The next experience shifts again into something entirely different, taking you away from the open forest and toward a setting shaped drop by drop after thousands of years. The final stop, Crystal Cave. The final challenge on your Sequoia itinerary isn't about climbing higher, it's about heading underground into Crystal Cave, the park's hidden marble cavern that feels like stepping into an entirely different world. Instead of towering trees and open air, you're met with cool darkness, quiet chambers, and formations shaped drop by drop over thousands of years. It's a reminder that the Sequoia's wonders aren't limited to what grows above the ground. Here's the most important thing you need to know before you put Crystal Cave on your list. First of all, you can't just show up. The entrance is by guided tour only, and tickets must be booked online in advance through the Sequoia Parks Conservancy. They aren't sold at the cave itself or at the visitor centers, so if you don't have a ticket, the trip is over before it even began. Prices hover around $20 for adults and a bit over $10 for kids under 10, but always confirm current rates on the official website before finalizing plans. Tours frequently sell out, sometimes weeks ahead of time, especially in peak summer, so booking early isn't just smart, it's necessary if you want to visit this wonder. Access to the cave is also limited by season. Tours only run in summer, generally from early June through late August, with some years extending a little into September if conditions allow. Outside these months, the cave is closed because of the winding road leading up to the site becomes unsafe and the cave itself needs a seasonal rest. If your trip lines up with the summer season, consider it a unique feature worth prioritizing. If your visit falls in winter or early spring, you'll need to save this site for another time. The journey to the cave begins with the drive. From the Giant Forest Museum, plan on about 30 to 45 minutes by car, depending on the road conditions. The spur road to the cave parking area is narrow, winding, and slow, so give yourself more time than your GPS suggests. Signal reception is unreliable in this section of the park, so download offline maps or bring a printed park map to avoid the last minute confusion. Missing a turn here could mean missing your reserved entry slot, something there's no flexibility on once tours actually start. From the parking lot, it's not an immediate access. You'll hike about a half a mile, on your way up the shaded trail to reach the cave entrance. The outgoing path descends gently alongside the small stream, but you'll be climbing about 200 feet back up on the return. It's a short hike, but the uphill finish surprises a lot of visitors, especially when the afternoon sun is hot. Bring water, take your time, and keep in mind that compared to something like Mora Rock, this climb back feels completely manageable. Stepping inside the cave, the temperature drops fast to a steady 50 degrees year round. That immediate change is refreshing in summer, but also means that you should bring a light jacket or a sweatshirt to stay comfortable during the tour. Good footwear matters too. Trails inside are lit, but can be damp and slick in places. Remember, this is formed drop by drop. Guided tours last about 15 minutes and follow a set loop. You'll pass under stalactites, stand beside rising stalagmites, and see calcite sheets that look like they were frozen waterfalls. Strategic lighting highlights the major features, adding a sense of drama without overwhelming the natural setting. What makes these tours memorable isn't just the visuals. The rangers and guides explain how Crystal Cave formed, how even small drips of water create the ornate shapes over thousands of years, and why the cave is so sensitive to human impact. Flash photography and wandering off path are not allowed, and once you see how delicate the formations are, the rules kind of make sense. In contrast to the giant sequoias, which display life on an enormous scale, this cave tells a story of tiny changes accumulating with patience over time. Experiencing Crystal Cave rounds out your trip in a way that nothing else does. You begin by looking up towards giants in the forest and testing your legs on climbs and loops, and now you're looking inward, deep into stone. The upper park inspires awe through its size and scenery, and the cave adds perspective through silence and detail. By the time you emerge back into daylight, the contrast between cool and dark chambers and warm forest air reinforces just how much variety this park actually has. After the 50 minutes of subterranean chill, followed by the uphill climb back to the parking lot, most visitors are eager for a hot meal and shower. Luckily, the nearby park villages and gateway towns make this transition seamless. But more importantly, what you'll take from Crystal Cave isn't just that you checked out another landmark off your list, it's that you've seen how this park holds meaning in every layer, not just on the surface. That realization sets the stage perfectly for this final thought, because in Sequoia, the real takeaway isn't only about the biggest tree or the hardest climb. To wrap up your Sequoia Canyons trip, keep a few things in mind. Park entry fees cost around $35 per vehicle or $20 per individual, though the America the Beautiful Pass can save money if you visit more than just this park. Book Crystal Cave tours early as they sell out fast, and do the same for summer campgrounds and lodges. Follow Leave No Trace, store all food and trash in provided bear boxes, and never leave scented items in your car. Be cautious around rivers, they run cold and fast, and accidents here are common, especially if you want to take in another part of the park, which would be kayaking down Whitewater Rapids. Plan smart, respect the giants, and leave this park better than you found it. Share your biggest Sequoia question below, parking, shuttles, camping, and subscribe if you want more practical park itineraries. And finally, get your boots on the forest floor. The best memories of the Sierra always come from the ground up. If you love this video and want to see more, give us a like and subscribe so you can always stay up to date with the very best of hiking, whether it's gear, the destination, or my beautiful voice. That's what we love and want to share with you, our viewers. So grab your boots, fill up your water bottle, and go chase those waterfalls. It's adventure time.